Let's check it. Let's see. Gonna be a good show tonight. We do have things to talk about. We're definitely gonna get into those things tonight. Hopefully the volume is good. You all can hear me. There should be no problems. Should be no problems. All right. Good on Facebook. So I'm good there. Come on in, come on in, come on in. Now, tonight's show is called Are You Not Entertained? Are you not? We're going to talk about it. We had this conversation last show, actually, during the Silent War, where we discussed like propaganda and false flags and all that fun stuff. So, if you're paying attention, once you pop up on Facebook, you'll notice that I'm on Facebook tonight. Excuse me. Show shouldn't be too crazy. Shouldn't get blocked for this. Shouldn't get banned, but we're going to give it a whirl. All right. So, let's talk about what's going on. Now, let's state the most obvious situation in America that does not make sense to anybody right now, and that would be Mr. Joseph A. Couch, 32-year-old male on the run right now, allegedly popped off 20 to 30 shots in Laurel County over a freeway or a freeway pass. Okay. So his dude's been on the run for like 3 days now. No one knows where he's at. They're looking for him. And essentially, I'm kind of thinking it's partially BS. I'm going to tell you why I think it's partially BS. Um, so the gentleman's a combat engineer. Army National Guard. He did his 4 years. He was a private. And that's very questionable in itself. All right. Now, these are just my opinions. None of this is factual, except for some of the stuff that I'm saying. But what my opinion is, it's not the whole truth. It is my opinion. Okay. So I'm going to leave that at that. Now, what I'm thinking is this. Okay. We have a 32-year-old male, 4 years in the Guard, who's a combat engineer with no deployments. Does that sound normal to you? If you're a veteran and you understand what I'm saying, then there's nothing for me else to say. But if you're not a veteran and you don't know, then guess what? I'll explain it to you. A combat engineer is gonna have some tread on them for deployments. Like I'm not saying all of them. I'm saying for a combat engineer to be in for 4 years from 2013 to like 2017, something like that, or 2019. He did 4 years. What I'm saying is this. There's no way that you're a combat engineer with no tread. All right, now I do have some articles to go over. Got some definitions too. We're gonna have some definitions in here. All right. So I need you guys to understand why we're gonna go through these motions tonight, and I'm gonna explain it the way I'm about to explain it. All right. Now before we get started, last system check. I see you guys coming in. Thank you. Appreciate you. Checking my shit right now. Excuse my language, Facebook. Don't you flag me for that. Don't you dare flag me for that. System check. I see you guys coming in. All right. Thank you. Appreciate it. We're good. We're good to go. We're live on all platforms. We're doing fine. All right, now look, we're about to click over. All right, we'll go to presentation screen. All right. What are you looking at right now? This is where it happened at. This is where all this transpired 3, 4 days ago. Gentleman was standing over the overpass on top over here on the 909. Right here where you see this little Laurel County shooting image at. Little, what's the word I'm looking for? Icon. There we go. Right there. Right. So my guys in this general area popping off shots. Said 20 to 30 shots. When they found his vehicle, he had around 1,000 rounds in there. Also, he left his rifle there. All right. Now he's been gone 3 days. Now they can't find him. Now understand that Kentucky is very dense in forest, and there's just a lot of stuff going on out there. In my opinion, Buddy's probably not breathing. Is the best way I could put that. All right. It's two choices in this with this guy. All right. I'm gonna give you these two choices before I get into this article. It's either an agency spook or it's not. It didn't happen. And when I say it didn't happen, I'm saying it's not what you think it is. It happened, but it's what we're gonna call a false flag, and what we're gonna go into tonight and explain again what a false flag is. And this is a potential situation. Now we know in the past week or so we've had crazy amounts of mass shootings in schools. We've had a whole lot of incidents. Everyone's on edge right now. I'm hearing reports that there were social media threats and parents are holding their kids in different states and everywhere. It's just happening around right now. Now, I'm not saying that this is all factual. I'm just saying people are taking precautions right now because it's kind of chaotic out here. Like, this isn't really what people want to start with going into an election. And as I've said before, as we get closer and closer, this thing keeps going faster and faster. We're going to go around the corner. It's going to get bad. All right. Now, this is the gentleman that is in discussion. Sketchy picture, right? Sure. This is why I'm saying there's something wrong with this situation. It's 2024. There's cameras on anything. There's cameras on everything. And honestly, at this point, driver's license, like social security pictures on the internet or whatever this person does, there's some type of up-to-date picture. This picture looks like they got it from early 2000s. He's 32 years old. All right, so think about that. All right, police find suspect's car, his rifle after I-75 shooting in Kentucky. Manhunt continues. All right. Police found a car and a gun belonging to the man suspected of shooting 5 people along Interstate 75 in southern Kentucky on Saturday. But they had not found the alleged shooter by the time they suspended their search at nightfall Sunday. Today's Monday. So I was watching some just different news, different briefings with the FBI in that area. So the conversation is very fluid, is the best way I can put it. And they're basically saying they don't know if he's alive. They don't have any information. They think he could be dead. Maybe he offed himself. That's a possibility, but they don't know. They're also a little worried to go into the woods because of the chance of a hidden attack or some type of event going on, and they may not be equipped for it. And remember, this man is a combat engineer. This man knows what he's doing, even with basic training and the training he went through as guard. Now, again, I question the fact of why he never deployed. That's the biggest question with me, is that he didn't deploy and he got out as a private. And we all know in the military, if you're a veteran, things happen. You get discharged other than under honorable, bad conduct. It happens. All right. People get put out the military every day. Does not mean they're going to go on a angry rampage on the interstate. This gentleman, on the other hand, kind of quiet, no real background. He's disappeared into the woods so far, and no one knows where he's at. All right. This man is floating around in Kentucky. It's a lot of forest. He could be in a cave. Who knows where he's at? Okay. Just cutting a buck. I'm going to go through a little bit more, all right? The car was parked atop a hill on the U.S. Forest Service Road near Interstate Exit 49. The site of the shooting, about 9 miles north of London, police found a rifle case in the car. Early Sunday afternoon in the same area, police found an AR-15 style rifle they believe was used in the shootings. Police said Sunday night Couch had bought the gun legally at a store in London Saturday morning, a few hours before the shooting, along with 1,000 rounds of ammunition. All right. Same story as the young man that, not the young man in Georgia, because his father gave him that rifle, and his father is actually being prosecuted. But we do have history of buying the gun the night before, whole lot of rounds, only uses a small fraction, guy disappears. I'm not saying this is fake. I'm not saying anything or he's a spook. I'm just saying that's my assumption right now because his background's kind of hidden. There's no real military information on him other than he was a combat engineer and he was private. Now, my thought is if his record is closed, then he may be retired spec ops or active spook. That's just my assumption. My assumption only. All right. All right, we're going to keep going. Police recovered most of the ammunition at the site of the shooting. According to Richard Dalrymple, the lead investigator for the sheriff's office, Acario said authorities don't know why the suspect ditched the gun and they don't know if he has more. Police also found a cell phone they believe was Couch's, but the battery had been removed. We know the phone is old because the battery came out. Batteries don't come out phones no more. It ain't too many phones that's coming out. And if it did come out, it's probably a flip phone. It's an older model. Batteries don't come out the new model phones anymore. So again, he knew what he was doing. Again, these are all things that we all talk about in this community. We've watched the videos and we've seen movies, predictive programming. Best thing to do, they say, take the battery out the phone, ditch it, go on about your business. It becomes a race with time at that point because you're not sure if you're going to find this person. So again, pay attention to how things are happening and the stuff being put out in the media right now. Everyone's on edge right now. It's bubbling in America right now, guys. People are feeling real uncomfortable with Venezuelan migrants bouncing from city to city. These conflicts are happening, all right? You have the school shootings just rocking America to the core right now, too. People are not feeling safe, and then we're waiting on the debates tomorrow, and then after tomorrow, it's the 23-year anniversary of what, of course? 9/11. All right? People, relax. Everybody, relax. There's a lot of things happening. I get it. There's a lot of things I just said. It seems like things got to play out the way they got to play out. We're here. At this point, if you're listening to me, you've been here for a while, you know what I'm talking about. If you're new, man, get you a stiff drink and a cigar or whatever, because we're going to go through some stuff and you're going to understand a lot. We're just taking in a lot of things right now, all right? Now, before we get into this, understand what propaganda is, all right? I'm going to talk about that. Propaganda is the communication that is primarily used to influence or persuade an audience to further an agenda which may not be objective and may be selectively presenting facts to encourage a particular synthesis or perception, or using loaded language to produce an emotional rather than a rational response to the information that is being presented. Propaganda can be a wide variety of different contexts. All right. Mainstream media, mass media, all right, alternative media, all right, even in this realm that we're in the alternative media, you have people spewing propaganda. I just seen a guy on TikTok screaming, the Fed is the reason why America's great. And there's a truth to that, but he's like, if you want to take down the Fed, then you don't want America to be the superpower. Bro, shut the hell up. Like, that rhetoric is absolutely what we don't need right now, right? That's propaganda. What separates me from propaganda? I try to give you guys information and facts. I try to break down information with you. I don't really try to fearmonger you or do anything like that or anything of that nature. I try to sit down with you guys, bring out information, and relate them to logical events that are going on right now. That makes sense? I hope it makes sense. So when I say things to new people get weird and they're like, I don't understand. What do you mean? Fake news, fake news, fake news. Most will call that the liberal left because the right is on the same idea that there's something extremely wrong in America. And as we've said before, there's something wrong, and at least we know there's something going on between the Venezuelan migrants, all of the migrants over here, the propaganda on the motorcycle gangs in Aurora, Colorado, more propaganda saying that this stuff isn't happening, which came from the governor, and then the mayor confirmed that it's happening. I have content and video footage for you guys to look over. Please don't think I didn't bring anything to show you tonight. We're going to go over some stuff. We're going to look at some videos. We're going to make this educated guess on our own. Okay? Critical thinking tonight, people. Critical thinking. So, there's a lot of things transpiring. Okay? Israel still going through its conflict with Hamas. Iran is still kind of saying that they're going to strike at any moment, and I'm kind of starting to feel like that's propaganda. Like they're just saying they're going to strike. They're going to strike any moment. They're going to strike any moment, and nothing's happening. I'm not saying nothing's going to happen. I'm saying nothing is happening. So they had to kind of dial that back from the media. What they give us now, they're not really talking about this Joseph A. Couch situation right now. There's really not much for them to say, which kind of makes me think it is what it is. Maybe a false flag. Just my opinion. I'm not saying those people were not harmed. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the reasons it happened is not what we think it is. It's just up in the air. Gun control, gun grab. Same thing with the migrants. As long as this keeps happening, they're going to push this digital ID and some type of identification because there's so many illegals running around and other people doing shit they ain't got no business doing. That makes sense. Right? So there's a couple things at play right now. It's not just one singular thing. Like when we try to explain this to the sleep or the unawake or unawoke, whatever you want to call them, we want to explain to them that it's not one singular or linear conspiracy. It's like a spider web of deception. There's a lot of things going on that they're trying to keep silent, but they got to say something about it. But if you do say something about it, they're going to ban you. Facebook has gotten real friendly with me lately. Don't ask me why. Could have something to do with him saying that the government pressured him not to say anything about C-19. I say that on Facebook tonight. Don't be petty with me, Mark. Thanks for, taking the restrictions off of me. Hey, I appreciate you, guy. Hey, it was strong for you to come out with your truth. He came out with his truth. He wrote a whole report. They pressured me. Like, we know they pressured you. It's not even wasn't even a hot topic. Everyone got censored that year. I wasn't even doing this yet. Like all this wasn't even thought of yet. I was getting pressured on my own personal page. So whatever's Mark is thinking right now, he's kind of lifted the hammer on everybody. At least I can say on my page, he's lifted the hammer a little bit. So maybe he's lightening up. Who knows? Anywho, like I was saying, when we explain stuff that's going on, there's something we call cognitive dissonance that's transpiring with people that don't understand. And if you don't know what cognitive dissonance is, we're going to get into that. Couple quick definitions, all right? Cool. Feel me out. Feel me out. Cognitive dissonance is described as a mental disturbance people feel when they realize their cognitions or actions are inconsistent or contradictory. This may ultimately result in some change in the cognitions or actions to cause greater alignment between them so as to reduce this dissonance. Relevant items for information include people's actions, feelings, ideas, beliefs, values, and things in the environment. Cognitive dissonance is typically experienced as a psychological stress when persons participate in an action that goes against one or more of their things. Basically, let's throw out a fun one, right? I can name an event right now, cognitive dissonance would kick in and people would stroke out over it. Project Bluebeam is going to be one of those situations where people are going to have to use their discernment, and because they've already been indoctrinated into so much literature and propaganda, when Bluebeam, if that does actually transpire, people are going to flip their shit. They're going to start crying and praying. Men will die at the heart of seeing whatever they see in the sky, like they said in the Bible and all the other texts. You know what I'm talking about. They're going to scare the hell out of people. It's going to cause cognitive dissonance, and then they're going to reel them back in and be like, see? And then people are like, I believe, and they're going to be more willing to do stuff because there are going to be a lot of people who let this stuff happen. It's just going to happen that way. Everyone's not going to join in on this whole circus show that we're doing. Like, we know about stuff and we try to tell them, but they're not going to want to be a part of it. They would rather stay in their dream world where it's safe, it's quiet, and no one really bothers them. And I don't know if I'm mad at them for that, but it's just kind of the card that we're dealt with them. It is what it is. All right. Like David said, cognitive dissonance, simplified, can't teach no dog new tricks. Basically, going against what you already knew, going against your own grain. I just wanted to throw the correct term out. That way, if like when they come back, they be like, false news. I had someone in my comments like this week, like I said something about America and she went on to explain that the United States and the difference between America and just a whole internet Karen just had no reason to sit on my page and just, we're like, you're reaching. What point are you trying to make? You're like stating the obvious. People do that on here. How do I know that? Because I'm seeing them in my feed again. I haven't seen these people in a while in my feed. Facebook was sheltering them away from me. Don't get that in your eyes. Don't look. If you listen to them, cognitive dissonance may kick in. You're going to say something stupid. It's just what happens on my page sometimes. All right. What you believe is not true to anything. It's just true to you because that's what you choose to learn and that's what you've been taught through the school system and religion and a lot of different avenues of communication and media. Social engineering is real, and if they want you to move a certain way, they have no problem pushing you in that direction. They can do it in so many ways. I've always said predictive programming is huge, all right? Propaganda, running psyops on you. We've talked about psychological operations a whole lot. I'm not going to even go over what that is. Just know that they got a whole division in the Army for it. So all this stuff that we're seeing is to keep us in that shock and awe and keep us on our toes. That way we feel so threatened and afraid that we go to the polls and we continue to vote our rights away. We continue to give them the power and they continue to choke us out year by year with more strange incidents and psyops and whatever else you choose to believe in or not believe in. Nonetheless, they're doing it. However you want to believe this, they're still doing it. Really not much for me to argue with on that one. So this is why I take time to explain this stuff to you guys while I have a good time. Excuse me while I have a drink of water. My mouth's getting dry. Now, before we get a little further, you're probably wondering, how do we wind up in this situation? There's a couple answers to that. It's a very broad question and answer. You got Mockingbird. We got the repeal of the Smith-Mundt Act. We have that. We've also broke down that DC is centralized off the water and they run off maritime law and they have their own rules and regulations and they don't really go by the same exact things that we go by. See, the things that they do are actually legal on their side of the line, but illegal on ours. It's a weird play of words that we talked about last show. You're gonna have to go back to the other show and watch that one. All right, now let's pull up some content. See what I got. I got some new stuff to show you. Predictive programming is kind of what this was leading into, right? Now, I do have the Smith-Mundt Act, and I have Project Mockingbird. We're going to go ahead and go over Mockingbird, okay?
Because the newest version of the 2013 NDAA included an interesting amendment. This amendment legalized domestic propaganda on the American public. You heard me right. The newest NDAA wasn't just reauthorizing the indefinite detention of American citizens. It also allowed the U.S. government to legally carry out misinformation campaigns against the citizens of this country. But is this really surprising to anyone? I mean, the corporate media is basically a propaganda arm of the U.S. government anyways, isn't it? Why the need to legalize the use of propaganda when you already have an entire mainstream media establishment lacking to the White House, reprinting government press releases without question? In fact, aside from everything I just mentioned, the Pentagon already spends $4 billion a year to influence public opinion, and the Department of Defense also spends hundreds of millions of dollars on information campaigns in countless countries occupied by the U.S. military. But perhaps even more disturbing than all of this is the fact that the CIA has already been infiltrating the biggest press institutions since the early 1950s. secret CIA campaign to spread disinformation and false stories to foreign governments during the Cold War. It did this by manipulating the media into focusing on propaganda, sabotage, and subversion. That the CIA program consisted of literally paying off editors and reporters at most mainstream news outlets. The New York Times, CBS, Time, The Washington Post, Newsweek, AP, Reuters, and countless more. People to this day could still be reading and referencing these articles, not knowing that they're completely fake. And sure, this is more than 50 years ago, but let's face the facts here. Our media is much worse now and has been much more easily compromised now. So how do we know that Operation Mockingbird still isn't in effect? Well, we don't.
All right. Now, what's so important about that? Because Hollywood and Atlanta are two meccas of production now. These are the places where you have fake White Houses, you have fake streets, fake neighborhoods, fake everything. Nothing is what it seems when you look at it. Even the people in real time, you could be talking to a person and that person's not who you think they are. That's Tinseltown. That's how magic works. Like, these people deceive us in a way that is quite disrespectful how well they're doing it. So you gotta understand the propaganda and the false flags and why we say these things exist. All right. Now with this shooter, the programming that we're seeing is the same thing. 32-year-old white male, military. They've ramped up on the veterans a lot more, and they've ramped up on the left shooters too. Now, I'm gonna mention some honest truth about the gentleman in Georgia last week. There is a noticeable pattern with leftist shooters. I'm gonna say leftist. I'm not gonna say the other word because I'm not trying to get banned. You can put it in the comments because you've seen the hair. I can insinuate all day. What I'm saying is leftist shooters are way more prominent than people think. I don't know why, but they keep throwing money at mental health, and I've said it before. We're way more sick now than ever mentally. And this is going through the drug epidemic, the psyop decade of the 70s. Like, understand where the mental capacity is at in America. We are severely aggravated right now. We are feeling the tension in the air. We are feeling some type of way. All right. Here's a prime example. In Alabama, I did this story in Alabama, in Coleman, Alabama. Two gentlemen meet up. One's an illegal immigrant. The other one is a veteran from that area. Migrant tried to rob veteran. Scuffle ensues. They both get shot. Migrant goes to jail. The guy in Coleman looks like a hero. This stuff is gonna happen. You're gonna have these run-ins because as you keep dropping them off everywhere, and these buses are very much so real, as you drop them off, they're going to start interacting with the local population in certain areas, and certain areas are not going to play that. This is where the propaganda machine picks up and the false flags pick up. While the incidents are real and the deaths are real, the reason for it is not what you think it is, and that's why we call these false flags. All right? I always say, I make a joke, are you not entertained? Because this is what this is all about. Mainstream media's job is to keep you in a perpetual state of fear and anxiety that you just don't know where to go with anything. That's that. Don't ask me why they want to be that way other than they're a satanic death cult. That's all I got for you on that one. Could be wrong, could be right. I just go by the information and the numbers given to me, and it shows that something's wrong. Okay, now we're going to move over. False flags. All right. We'll make this short because I've talked about it before, and I keep doing this. Operation A false flag operation is an act committed with the intent of disguising the actual source of responsibility and pinning the blame on another party. This can be done with the left and the right conversation, the black and the white conversation, the whole conversation of anything versus whatever. Okay. What is it? Fat and skinny, blue eyes and brown eyes, pure white skin and rednecks. It don't matter. They got us light skin and dark skin in my community. So these incidents are happening. They've already pinned us against each other for no reason, just so that they don't have to deal with us. I've always said that. That's my thing. I like saying that because it's true. They really rather not deal with us as a whole. Rather deal with us discombobulated. You can call us in better. You can get the sheep and wrangle them together and herd them through. Just like 2020. Same exact way. Whole lot of fear. That fear and anxiety was bad in 2020 for a lot of people. Me, wasn't too bad. Mine is going to the stores and trying to find toilet paper and water and not beat up some old man for getting crazy with my wife. Outside of that, it gave me New Orleans vibes, Katrina vibes. People were fighting over noodles and shit. Nothing crazy. But it did show the state of the mental health in America. And right now, people are bubbling over. They're over medicated on things they shouldn't be on because no one wants to tell them the truth, or they don't want to hear the truth that your government's lying to you. It's a huge possibility that it's whole show, bread and circus. They're working for the same people, left wing, right wing, same bird. It does not matter. All right. No matter what I say, always remember, do not comply. Again, please, people, please. All right. So false flags are essentially what you could be watching in your own media because we don't know what's true and what's not true. We just have people like myself sit down and break all this information down as it's happening. We try to see it like, hey, don't know about that. And this is where you get the community from. Now, predictive programming goes into the psyops itself. See, predictive programming works in a very, very unique way. That's not what I was looking for. What am I looking for? Where's my Firefox? Here we go. Predictive programming is part of this false flag. So they'll show it to you first, then do it, and then we're all sitting here like, yeah, that happened in the movie before. It's crazy that happened. That's a coincidence. It's not a coincidence. Understand that the government works with Hollywood on all movies. Like they have a say so. They're consultants on a lot of movies, so they're pretty much telling you what's going on in so many words because they play it close to the ear like that. Don't ask me why, but if you watch Leave the World Behind, always remember that the Obamas were executive producers. They used their own government information and how this whole situation would transpire. This is why the movie was considered predictive programming. Also understand that date is coming up. See how I played that in there? That date's coming up. Does that matter? I don't really know. It was like September 17th and 18th in the movie. What's funny is there's a lunar eclipse coming. If you know what that means, then you know that there's some type of weird ritual happening or going on with this. How do you know? Well, if you look around your cities, there's some weird statues being built. Might want to look into that. It's a whole other conversation. We're not going to get into that one tonight. So the next week or so is supposed to be one of those events that are ramped up. It's going to be very, very, very emotional with the 23-year anniversary of 9/11, the debates tomorrow. I'm going to try to cover that tomorrow too, guys. I'm going to see who's streaming, who's going to either kick me off the stream or who's just going to let me get away with it. I'm pretty sure Facebook's going to kick my show off like they did last time. That's okay. It's on Rumble. You guys head on over there if you want to. I'm on YouTube also. I'm not streaming on Twitch tonight. Kind of gave that a break. But predictive programming is happening as we speak. It's happening in the movies. Leave the World Behind and Civil War are basically filling us in on dates and timelines of how they want this to play out. Does it play out like that? That's entirely on us. In these movies, there is no good guy or bad guy. I want you to understand that. I'm under the assumption of Civil War that the Western Coalition or the Western Federation were the bad guys. So, because you got to realize whoever they make look like a hero in an inverted world, it's the opposite. So, technically, the people from like Texas and California were not really the good guys, and the South was on who knows whatever shit we were on. It's Florida involved in that. If Florida's involved, it's a damn party. They don't want to rile up Florida, guys. But what they've been showing us lately is kind of lining up to what we're all feeling anyway. It's like we're putting the energy out there and they're kind of giving it back to us through the movies. Just my opinion. Just my opinion. All right. So think about that. Before we get into this next video, quick promo. Feel free to follow the Daily Rabbit Hole on all platforms. Feel free to share, donate, like, reach out to me if you got some information you want to talk about. Feel free. What is it? Oh my God, I can't get it in there. Pause. Let's see. What is the... There we go. Couldn't get it. I was trying to get my link in there. Feel free to find me. Also, the Daily Rabbit Hole is officially open for subscriptions. I will definitely be working on it more often. So please feel free to subscribe. It's not expensive. It's $1.99. Your donations and all your shares and likes are muchly appreciated. Very much so. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. So before I get into this video, all right, predictive programming, where is the, all right, says, predictive programming is the theory that ideas, situations, and new technology are carefully written into movies, TV shows, and books to groom the general population into accepting societal changes. Kind of like swiping your hand at a Whole Foods store or the Mark of the Beast, or, you know, anything that you've assumed was part of some type of agenda that, and you've seen it in a movie, that's what that is. All right. Examples include pilot episode The Lone Gunman, where a hijacked plane was flown into the World Trade Center as a false flag attack. The Dark Knight Rises, which features a map of Gotham, where one of the marked locations is Sandy Hook. That costed Alex Jones $1 billion allegedly. And an episode of Family Guy in which Peter Griffin drives through the Boston Marathon, released only a few months before the bombings at the 2013 Boston Marathon. We've seen these episodes. The Simpsons are undefeated, right? Everyone says the Simpsons are undefeated. The Simpsons are predicting the future. This is why. Because they're writing it into the script and they're showing us so that when this stuff happens, we don't flip our shit and be like, and do something weird. Because Americans we aren't rap tight as a whole. Like, individually, there's some good people. As a whole, we are not there. We are liable to make a horrible decision, spark some type of issue, and that's kind of what they want. That goes into the martial law, that goes into the executive orders, the FEMA camps, the FEMA organization, Red Cross, all them in Geneva, Switzerland, central headquarters. It's the devil's headquarters. I'll do that one another show too, okay? All right. Now that we've talked about predictive programming and I got that out. All right. We're moving through. Where is it? Here it is.
I introduced the phenomenon of predictive programming. Predictive programming suggests that elements of popular culture, including movies, TV shows, books, and other media, are used to plant seeds or prepare the public for future events or societal changes. Proponents argue that influential individuals or organizations use mass media to gradually introduce concepts, scenarios, or ideologies into public consciousness. By presenting these ideas in a fictional context, they can normalize or desensitize audiences over time. Predictive programming often involves the repetition and reinforcement of specific themes, symbols, or narratives across different media forms. By repeatedly exposing audiences to certain motifs or scenarios, they become familiarized with them and may be more accepting or receptive when similar events occur in real life.
Predictive programming. That's essentially what that is. Okay? Now, the biggest programming that we're getting right now is the instability and potential conflict through the Venezuelan migrants. That may be the biggest one. Now, see, anything else that you're seeing is just policy gun grab, trying to get you guys to vote. I don't want to say the mass shootings are a way to get you guys to vote, but it is a scare tactic that works, regardless if that these things are happening from real people on their own time and not being propped up. Well, however it's happening, okay? So you got to understand, when you see that, that's to kind of show you, hey, there's a gun issue. Hey, America's not safe. Your kids aren't safe. This is why parents are holding their kids at home right now. Any threat right now, no one's kids are going to school. Hell, mine ain't going to school. I'm not gonna play like that. I don't know. Kid can have a bad day, come in there and really just let off some steam. I don't want to play with something like that. So just like any other concerned parent, my kids are staying home. So what do you expect when you've been feeding people this kind of information? It does something to us on a subconscious level, in our pineal gland and however in our frontal cortex, it all works together. They can scare us into what they want. And that's kind of the whole plan of this. And this is why I always say that it's important that you know how to use discernment and think and use your gut. Think about what we're saying when you watch this video. When you go back and you see something happen, you're gonna realize and be like, you know what, this is starting to make sense. All right. Now, when we move over to the most recent PSYOP that we're dealing with, right, the migrants, see, they're playing on us being upset at how they're taking care of the migrants. And I say that for a reason, because you've heard what they're supposed to be giving the migrants. I got a content on that too. Now, what I want to show you is the fear that they're showing Americans right now via the migrants and running into gun stores and incidents and apartments and taking over stuff. They're actually doing this stuff. Now, is it a PSYOP? It could be, but it's a very, very well-working PSYOP because people are buying into it. Someone's already been shot over it, so the threat is real. All right, now, check this out.
Dropping to their knees, held at gunpoint. Some of the staff fleeing to the back. Munoz able to grab her kids and escape.
My mom and my cousin closed the door as I grabbed my 18-month-old baby.
Her mom, Lydia Tena, tried to hit the panic button before one of the robbers attacked her.
They hit her in the back of her head with the gun 3 times. They also hit my cousin Magdalena in the back of the head. She felt like they were gonna kill her after they hit her 3 times with the gun in her head. And she, one of the times, tried to move to push the panic button. And they told her that if she moved at all once more, that they were gonna kill her and they were gonna kill my cousin.
Within another minute, cameras in the back capturing 4 more men entering the back door.
They had white gloves and they were all loading their guns.
Munoz says one assaulted her sister, who walked into all the chaos.
He grabbed her by her hair, pulled her up the stairs, and told her not to move or he was gonna kill her. And while he had her face down to the floor, he yanked all of her personal jewelry off.
The 8 men wiping out the store that's been here for 24 years in a matter of 3 minutes.
Everything, they just sort of started putting it in backpacks and duffel bags.
Denver police confirming they are looking for these 8 Hispanic men.
It's organized crime and their accent is from Venezuela.
All right. So this is kind of what's been pumped out over the airwaves everywhere right now, and rightfully so. People are afraid. You've seen the videos of them dressing up as Amazon workers and kicking in people's doors. You've seen them kicking in apartment doors. The tactics of taking the weakest apartment complex are real. That's not anything unheard of. That's going to happen anywhere. A building that cannot defend itself will be overrun and infested, or it'll be an infestation in it. That's in any way you want to word that. If you let roaches in your house, after a while, you're going to have a whole lot of roaches in your house. All right. That's the same idea with what we're dealing with. And I'm not saying these migrants are roaches. That's not what I'm calling them. I'm just saying after so many people come in, you're gonna have an infestation and you're gonna have to fumigate and do all this, put a bag over the house, throw some bombs in there, and get rid of it. Like, that's just how it has to happen. Like, you got this situation transpiring in New York, Chicago, San Francisco, Arizona. Colorado is just the state that elected to be the psyop because Colorado's not weird, right? Aurora's never had anything strange go on in that city, right? That nothing's ever weird gone on there. We just spoke on the whole Dark Knight thing. All right. So listen, there are things that are going on. And in Aurora, Colorado, they have a history of things being a little questionable. The Denver airport is self-explanatory. Colorado is a walking psyop. All right. Just gonna put it out there. So it's not shocking that this is happening there. Now it's happening in other places like Miami. In Chicago, you're hearing about the local gangs in Chicago fighting back against the Venezuelans and targeting them and going after them now. This stuff is real. Although it's used as propaganda and fear, the horrible truth is that it's actually happening. You hear people saying there's no problem, there's no problem. I typically tell you that's when you need to worry, when they're telling you there's no problem. That's just me. Someone's like, yeah, we're fine, we're cool, and you look up and the house is on fire. You're like, yeah, you sure you're all right? And they're like, yeah, bro. Yeah, oh man, that's nothing, man. That shit catches on fire at least 2 times a week. You're like, that makes absolutely no sense. You're in trouble. And that's kind of the notion that we're all getting at right now. Now they're using these images, stuff like this, to kind of scare us into a reaction, or what you guys would call, or like I say now, Hegelian dialect. Now here's one other way that they're kind of playing on our emotions and tugging on our strings, right?
No, $15,000 in food stamps and $5,000 cash money monthly.
Every month they're getting that.
Yes, and they're getting 6 months free rent. But this was the first time I heard about it. Now that I've heard it's 2 years free rent, getting Section 8, first prioritized before the citizens.
Wow. So the Venezuelan migrants that are coming in here, they are getting 6 months free rent, $15,000 in food stamps, and on a credit card, $5,000.
Cash.
Oh my goodness. How do the people in Chicago feel about that?
Oh, people are angry because there's a lot of people, that need help with Medicaid and food stamps, and they get rejected.
Tell me about the people that you've seen on the streets collecting clothes.
By my house, there's a Walgreens. There's a lot of families that go stand by the door with a pamphlet saying they need money and food. And they're Venezuelans getting money. And then they go in the bus and don't pay. Go in the trains, don't pay. And they're not getting in trouble for none of the wrong things they're doing.
They can commit a crime or steal or something and nothing happens to them.
Nothing happens. They get away with everything. By my house, a car passed by. It said Venezuela in the back.
All right. Cut that short. That could be propaganda too. They could have paid her $500 just to say all that. Now, this isn't the first time we've heard any of this. Now, Section 8, no rent, food stamps, free health care, prioritization over the people of America. This would naturally upset us and force us to react in a way that would be conducive to this agenda. You see what I'm saying? Like, and here's the funniest thing. You keep hearing Venezuelans. That ain't the only person that crossed the border. We got everybody crossing our border. We have a small, like every country has sent their people here across the border to America. It ain't just the Venezuelans. I feel like the Venezuelans are employed to get our attention onto something else. Like, I'm not saying they're not dangerous. I'm not saying that they're not. I'm saying while we're occupied with the Venezuelans, the other 4 million terrorists that came through the border of that 18 million allegedly, are setting themselves up. They're getting their caches. We're seeing strange storage containers dropped in certain places. Even out here in Alabama, there's storage containers in strange places. I've seen them. It is what it is. They're just sitting there. It's a questionable thing. You would have to ask why. Everyone's getting busloads of people dropped off in their neighborhoods and in their towns. Maybe not so much like the quote unquote sanctuary cities of America that are getting millions, but I assure you they're in the deep south and they're working at these processing plants and these farms and all these other little jobs Americans aren't willing to do. I'm not saying those are bad people. I'm just saying amongst them, there could be some bad people. And while we're worried about the Venezuelans, we've missed the Chinese, we've missed the Uzbekistanians, whatever you call them, Pakistani, Afghani, Iraqis, all of them are over here. Hell, it ain't too many countries not over here. Yemenis. It's a lot of people here. So while we're sitting here focused on Venezuelans, we're missing the whole focal point with the rest of them, and they could be setting up. They could be setting us up for a ploy. People thought it was going to happen at the DNC. I don't think it was going to happen at the DNC because that would have been too obvious to the left, and they may have lost their own fan base doing that. See, the right is unhinged in a way that they bought into that. Whether it's true or not, the dude was on the roof. I don't understand how that young man got on a roof with police in the same building of the roof that he's on. Nonetheless, however this Trump assassination tried to happen, it happened. And it made him look like fucking Tupac. So tomorrow's debate's going to be interesting. We're going to definitely cover that. You know, we're going to hang out all night. It's going to be a good 3 hours, maybe 2. Depends on how the coverage is going and, you know, how we're enjoying the show. But we're going to be up. We're going to watch it. We're going to have a good time, as always. All right. So this whole migrant thing, instability, I always share the video from Leave the World Behind where he says where people don't have a clear enemy to locate or any understanding, they'll be forced to attack themselves. This is what this is aiming for. There's so many agendas at play that the Agenda 25 or Project 25 they're telling people about ain't even the real one you need to worry about. Most of them are already in play. 2030 is what everyone needs to worry about. We need to talk about these smart cities. We need to understand what's going on. Are they going to cut the lights out? Are we going to get to this election? There's a lot of questions people are asking right now that I can't really answer. I think we're going to get to the election. I also thought that they may take a shot at a president after the election and not before. They took one at a former president. So I assume the Simpsons are not wrong. And if you know, you know, because the Simpsons predicted someone's ultimate demise. That's all I'm saying. So keep that in mind. Predictive programming, the false flags, and all the stuff we've talked about. It's just to keep us in a perpetual state of fear and anxiety. And it works. Cognitive dissonance is working. You can't say certain things around people without them getting weird. They're going to get strange. You sit here and be like, yeah, Kamala's in a secret cabal of Satanists. And people are like, you just can't support black women. I'm like, no, I don't have a problem supporting black women. One, she's not a black woman, she's Indian. And 2, she's in a secret Satanist club. Like, everyone knows that. It's not unheard of your elected officials having an interest through someone else. It's clearly not with us. So it has to be with something else that they've aligned themselves to, which it all seems to be the same secret little proxy groups that all belong to one big organization that manages the proxy groups. I mean, that's the simplest way I could put it. There really wasn't no other way. All I'm saying is this. If it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's definitely a duck. Probably a satanic duck, but it's a duck. When people realize how ugly this can get and how this can go, it's gonna be too late, because that's the whole point. And by the time it's too late, a lot of people are gonna be willing to sacrifice those freedoms for a little bit of quote unquote normal. We're never going back to normal. We ain't been normal since 2020. We really weren't normal before that, but the illusion of normal was there. The illusion of normal has been gone for 4 years now. I need everyone to wake up, open your eyes, smell the coffee, and realize we are not going back to normal. The propaganda, the machine is running. The ghost in the machine is here. Skynet, whatever you want to call it, it's here. They're testing implants on people. They're trying to link robotics with humans, transhumanism, and all this other stuff. Elon Musk is not your friend. Trump is not your friend. If you want to trust him, I understand why you trust him. It's far better than trusting the left. And if you trust the left, I question you deeply. So deeply. There's no way you could be buying this. You have to be, I assume you're getting paid if you believe any of the lefts. There's no way you could be buying this. They haven't actually accomplished anything in the last 20 years. In the last 20 years, 24 years, it's been blue 12, red 12. And here we are, scared of our own damn shadows, waiting on the worst possible situation to happen. This is going to be an interesting week with the debates. Am I going to do a 9/11 show? It may not be on Facebook or YouTube is what I'm going to say. It may just be on Rumble. Rumble's not going to take my video down, but Rumble's probably going to put me on a log or something. But I probably won't do that on Facebook. I'm sure everyone else can get away with doing it, but for some reason I can't get away with doing anything. TikTok didn't ban my video and I didn't even do anything. Normally I'd be like, yeah, maybe kind of. No, TikTok just has it out for me, which makes sense because it's a leftist piece of shit at this point. Some of the information is valuable and you can kind of get through the propaganda of TikTok now. TikTok is kind of like turned into what Facebook turned into. And it's kind of going to stay that way until they're done tag tracking and IDing everybody. So this week is going to be really interesting. And prepare yourself to see some shocking shit for the rest of the year. I don't think this is the end of the mass shootings. I'm sure it's not the end. I'm sure it's not going to be the end of the presidential issues. Is Biden even running the country right now? Like, we don't really know who's actually running the country, which is not the first time we've had to ask this question. But as we wait on Kamala to show her face for her first debate, because she's never actually won a primary, they just gave it to her. She didn't win a debate or anything. They just made her the primary. It's gonna be a spectacle like it was when Trump took on Biden, and they just kind of two grumpy old men arguing on platforms. It's gonna be the same thing, except one grumpy old man and one leftist, whatever she is, Democrat, Indian, black woman, whatever. Like, whatever she wants to be for that day, that's what she's gonna be. All I'm gonna tell you is this. You guys got to wake up before it's too late, because by the time we really realize what happened, I'm afraid that, we'll already be in that bad place to where someone's getting chipped and there's some type of like authoritarian dystopia going on. Like China has their social credit score. That's kind of what they're setting us up for. Trump was a very, very staunch supporter of that social credit score in China. Always remember that. I'm not saying that's what he's going to do to us. I'm saying always remember he didn't have a problem with it. He had good things to say about it. I'm not going to keep you up. It's a weeknight. So, I won't say weeknight. It's the evening. It's the late evening. All right. You guys got to go to work. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Here's my last thought before we end the show. It's all horseshit. They're lying to you. That's not actually Biden. Kamala's weird. Trump's a chaos agent. I couldn't get it out. They both put veterans on their tickets. because they want the veterans to be supportive of them, because that's kind of who they're worried about right now, are the veterans. This is why you're seeing the veterans' name thrown into the dirt with this dude who did this stupid ass shit on the highway. All right. Be smart, guys. I'm posting the content. I'm putting it out there. I'm trying to get you guys, more prepping information and stuff. You guys just got to be aware of what's going on. All right. Stop playing around. Stop feeding into this. Stop playing the games, man. And I swear we can get out of this. But if we don't unite and come together and make our own communities and tribes and groups, or our own corporations together as unity like they used to back in the day, we don't stand a chance against this machine. This machine's coming downhill, guys. You just make sure it doesn't get in your eyes and your mouth. You guys got to make sure you do the right thing, man, and stand up for yourselves. And for the people that don't understand what we're saying, hang around a little bit. You're going to watch this video as you're on the page. Hang around with us a little bit and you'll understand what we're trying to tell you, all right? All right. You guys have a great night. Have a great day tomorrow. I'll see you for the debates, all right? I'll be on promptly, whether it's on here or Rumble. Just depends if ABC's on their bullshit and Facebook's going to delete my show again like they did last time. Nonetheless, I will be on the air tomorrow. I'll catch you guys tomorrow night. Be safe. Hug your children. Love your children. Hope you wake up tomorrow morning. Keep fighting a good fight. This is the Daily